The escape pod hissed as it depressurized, and Arel stepped out into the purple twilight of an unknown world. His medical scanner beeped insistently there was life nearby. And it was fading fast. He found her collapsed against a crystalline rock formation. Her silver armor cracked and stained with luminescent blue blood. She was massive, easily 8 feet tall, with 4 arms and skin that shimmered like starlight. Her breathing came in ragged gasps, and her 6 eyes arranged in 2 rows across her elongated face flickered with diminishing light. "Easy, easy," Arel murmured, kneeling beside her. His hands moved with practiced efficiency, pulling out his emergency medical kit. The woman tried to speak, but only managed a weak gurgle. Her translator device sparked and died on her chest. Arel didn't need words. Trauma was trauma, regardless of species. The gash across her torso was deep, exposing what he assumed were internal organs, structures he'd never seen before. But the principle remained the same. Stop the bleeding. Stabilize. Survive. "I'm Arel," he said softly, more to calm himself than her. "Human. Medical Corps. You're going to be fine." She watched him with those alien eyes as he worked, confusion evident even across the vast gulf of their evolutionary paths. Her lower right hand twitched, reaching for a weapon that was no longer there. "None of that," Arel said gently, pushing her hand away. The next hours were a blur of improvisation. His supplies weren't designed for her physiology, but Arel had learned long ago that medicine was as much art as science. He used a combination of synthetic skin, pressure bandages, and a dermal regenerator calibrated on the fly. When her breathing became labored, he rigged a makeshift oxygen system from his pod's life support. She drifted in and out of consciousness. During her lucid moments, those eyes followed him with something between wonder and suspicion. Once, when he accidentally hurt her while sealing a wound, she grabbed his wrist with surprising gentleness, a restraint that spoke of tremendous control. "Sorry. Sorry," he whispered. "Almost done. Senful round to over one. Senful round to over one. All of the round to over one. Senful one to over one. Senful one to over one. All of the mentor." By the time the planet's twin moons rose, she was stable. Arel sat back against the rock, exhausted, his uniform soaked with her blood and his own sweat. The woman's breathing had evened out. Her bioluminescent blood had stopped flowing. Against all odds, she would live. She stirred as the first moon reached its zenith. Her eyes opened, clearer now, and focused on him with unsettling intensity. She tried to sit up, and Arel immediately moved to help her. "Slowly," he urged. "You've lost a lot of blood. Well, I assume it's blood. The blue glowing stuff. Anyway." She stared at him for a long moment, then did something unexpected. She touched his face with one of her massive hands, her expression filled with bewilderment. Her fingers were gentle, almost reverent. "I don't understand the gesture," Arel admitted with a tired smile. "But you're welcome." 3 days later, a fleet appeared in orbit. Not just any fleet, hundreds of warships that made Arel's crashed medical frigate look like a toy. Drop ships descended like falling stars, and within minutes, they were surrounded by thousands of soldiers in pristine armor. They knelt. Every single one of them pressed their foreheads to the ground in perfect synchronization, their weapons laid aside. Arel stood frozen, utterly bewildered, as the woman beside him, now standing at her full, imposing height, placed a hand on his shoulder. A new figure approached. An elderly alien of her species in elaborate robes. He carried a functioning translator, and when he spoke, his words came through in clear standard. "Human," the elder said, his voice trembling with emotion. "You have saved Empress Vera, Supreme Commander of the Talaxian Armada, Breaker of the Krell Dominion, Conqueror of 7 sectors, the galaxy's most feared warrior." Arel's mouth opened and closed soundlessly. He looked up at Vera, who gazed down at him with those 6 eyes full of something he couldn't quite interpret. She was hurt. Arel finally managed. Anyone would have helped. Anyone would have helped. The elder made a sound that might have been a laugh or a sob. No, human. No one approaches Empress Vera. Her reputation precedes her. Worlds surrender at the mention of her name. Armadas flee at the sight of her banner. She has conquered more systems than any warrior in galactic history. She has never known mercy. The elder continued. Because she has never been shown mercy. Every battlefield, every negotiation, every encounter, she is met with fear or ambition. Never kindness. Never care. Arel looked at the massive Empress, understanding dawning. She had been watching him those 3 days with wonder, because he had treated her not as a conqueror or a threat, but simply as someone who needed help. You didn't know, the elder said softly. You saw only someone in pain, and in not knowing, you did what no one in this galaxy has done in 3 centuries. You showed the Empress that not all creatures respond to power with either submission or challenge. Vera finally spoke, her voice deep and resonant even through the translator. What is your name? Small one. Arel, he answered. Just Arel. Just Arel, she repeated, and for the first time in recorded history, Empress Vera smiled. You are now under my personal protection. The Talaxian Armada stands as your shield, my empire as your home. Ask anything of me, and it shall be done. Arel looked around at the thousands of soldiers, the vast fleet above, the most powerful being in known space, offering him everything. I'd just like a way home. Honestly, and maybe to make sure you follow up on those wounds. The deep tissue damage needs monitoring, the elder translated. And a ripple of shock went through the assembled forces. Vera's smile widened. No one has ever asked so little, she said. You shall have your passage home, just Arel. And I shall ensure every human ship is granted safe passage through Talaxian space. Your people shall be allies of the Armada, protected and honored. She knelt, actually knelt, bringing herself to his eye level. As Arel was escorted to a command ship far more luxurious than anything he'd ever seen, he couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity. He'd crashed on a random planet, patched up an injured stranger, and somehow made humanity allies with the galaxy's most powerful empire. Perhaps, he thought, there was something to be said for not knowing who you were helping. Sometimes ignorance wasn't just bliss, it was the door to impossible friendships. Behind him, Empress Vera watched the small human depart, her hand unconsciously touching the healed wound on her torso. For the first time in centuries, she felt something beyond the weight of conquest. She felt gratitude. And, perhaps, something more.